of logical relevance and logical importance. All these things you should be very much careful. Then the second thing is this research should be very systematic. It is not that you can before deciding a topic, you can go to the field and collect the data. Or suppose you decided the topic and before doing extensive literature review and before making a questionnaire, you can directly go to the field and collect the data, or you can start writing some kind of small reports based on your personal experience without having a kind of data collection or kind of developing a questionnaire. So what I'm telling, in any research, it should be first very much scientific in nature, then it should be very systematic. It is not that you can do whatever you wish. There are certain kind of steps, there are certain kind of procedures in any research. You have to follow those steps, you have to follow those systematic approach, then it can be good research. You cannot deviate from the different steps. So there are different steps which you have to follow. And then variables. You see, in any research, we depends upon certain kind of variables, because when we are mentioning our objectives, and according to our objectives, we should identify our variables. And on what will be my variable, what exactly I am thinking to look at. All these things should be very clear from the very beginning, because unless and until your research is very clear from the very beginning, what are the variables you are going to look. Suppose you are working on old age peoples, and your one of the variable is old age people are one of your variables, and then based on your topic you are deciding dependent variable, independent variable, then other variable also you are deciding based on your objective, based on your topic, and based on your intention, what exactly you are going to do. Based on that, you have to identify certain variables. So here, see, unless and until you are very much clear about your variables, so then you will be in trouble, and your outcome will be something different, because your objective will be different, your outcome will be different. At the end, your report will be not accepted, because you will tell in an introduction you are telling something, and in the conclusion your outcome is something else. Suppose you are working on old age peoples, and while you are working your variables, you have taken the young group peoples, and without any relation to the old age peoples, so they are your outcome will be invalid. But if you are working on old age peoples and you have taken the young groups as a variable in relation to the old groups, means what is the approach of younger people toward the old generation, what is the contribution of younger generations toward their parents as an old people at home, how they are respecting, how much care they are taking. So whether they have left them to stay alone at their home, or they are taking care where they are staying, or they are carrying them with wherever they are moving. So all this aspect, if you look into, then there is a certain relevance. But if you are not having any kind of relevance, you are looking the young generation completely different from the old, so then there will be no relevant in this case. So then, see, what should be your objective of research? Means you should be very much careful about. I'm just giving a gist, then we'll go to the steps of research in details. See, here you see, in any research, your objective should be very clear. Objective sense, I am not telling about your objective of your problem, but rather the means objective of research. Means I am not telling here about the objective of your topics. Rather, while doing the research, what for you are doing research, what is the intention of your research, and why you have developed an interest in the research, and why you have developed an interest in a particular topic as a research topic. So all these things should be very clear from the very beginning, because unless and until you are very clear in all these aspects, then you cannot be a good researcher, and you cannot find a good problem, and you cannot contribute to a good research, and you cannot resolve a problem. So first you see, if you are very new to the research and you want to do a research in a particular topic, or even if you are very old to the research and you want to do research in a particular topic, so first you should find out that where you can find it, or you can achieve a new insight. Suppose if you want to do a research, your intention should be to find a new insight to that. Suppose you are working on cancer. You find that the people living with stress, this is an assumption you can take, or you can find at the end of your conclusion that stress leads to the cancer. So that means suppose you find an assumption from somewhere that stress leads to the cancer. The people living, because in the contemporary days, what you found? You found that most of the peoples are under stress, either their office stress or their stress at their home. Means they have a workplace or their home or in the societal stress. So all this stress might be leading to the cancer. So you just assume that you want to do research that stress leads to cancer and you want to get into this. Otherwise, what you can do, you can think of doing a research that which will give a new insight. Means you are doing research on the cancer and at the end you find a new insight that stress leads to the cancer. Means here you can take this stress leads to cancer as a kind of your hypothesis, or you can find a new insight that stress leads to the cancer after doing the research in a systematic way. So that's why what I'm telling. So in any research, you should be very clear that you are going to achieve a new insight. So then the second one is that develop a new theory. Suppose you see you are doing a research and what exactly you want? You want to develop a new theory. So you see, if I'll tell that, suppose I'm telling when we are doing any kind of activities, generally what happens? We try to establish a new theory, or we try to prove that the theories which exist is completely false, or we reject a theory and give a new theory. Otherwise, some other theory we can give, because you see, suppose you see what the people did, what the people. So what exactly my daughter is getting problem. Okay, so what exactly you see? So developing, when we are developing the new theory, here you see, suppose there are lots of theory in origin of caste. So here you see, so suppose one group of theorists, they told that the caste system is originated by the Brahmins, and then the other group, what they claim that it is not that caste is being originated by the Brahmins. It may be originated by other groups. Some people told it might be due to the evolutionary theory. Some people told it might be a kind of occupational theorist. What they told when the Aryans came and they divided the society on the basis of occupation for the smooth functioning of the society. So that means what exactly happened here. So in any research, if you are looking into this developing a new theory, so that means first you are doing a research on a particular theory, taking a theory into base, trying to prove or disapprove it, and then based on your outcome, you find out that this either you can find that the existing theory is right, or you can disapprove it and give a new theory that this is the what exactly I want to focus. So that means in every research, you from the very beginning, you should have an insight that I will find something new in my research, or I will develop certain kind of new theory, or something I will contribute to the existing theory, and giving more kind of argument on the existing theory, through that the existing theory will be strong enough. So then generalize the principle. See, suppose you want to generalize your data. How you will generalize? Means that should be one of the objective of your research. Because if I will do a research, and if my outcome of the research is confined to a particular setup or particular locality, then there is no much relevance. So at least you can generalize your data that if the similar situation arises, this will be the outcome of any research. So, or anything what exactly you did the research. Suppose you want to do a small research on that who are more responsible, who behaves more responsibly in a home, whether it is an elder sibling or a younger sibling. So you can choose the households having two kids and there you can go, you can take sample, you can cover it to the different locations. You picked up the households having 2 kids, and you interact with the parents, you interact with the child, you interact with the neighbors. Yeah? And so who behaves more responsible, whether it is an elder sibling, elder one, elder child, or the younger child. Suppose in general, suppose from your outcome, you found taking more sample, more location, you can stratify your locality, and you found that the elder children at home behaves more responsible way than the younger one. So there you can generalize that in general, the elder sibling behaves in more responsible way than the younger one in any circumstances. Then you have to determine the relationship between two variables or more variables. So means your objectives should be very clear, of the research should be clear, that you have to select some variables in your research and you have to try to establish the relationship between those variables, because unless and until you establish the relationship, whether it is positive relationship or whether it is a negative relationship, that your outcome of your research will tell. But you have to be very careful in your research, that you have to take some variables and you have to try to establish the relationship between or among those variables. So that should be the objective of your research. So are you clear now? Before doing any research, at least you should be very much careful that what exactly you are going to do. Anybody any doubt on this? Hello? Hello?
No, sir, it is clear, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So,
No, sir.
okay. So then, you see, when you are telling any, because you see, all these things will come little later on. See, generally there are two things we found. One is constant things, that is usually the numbers, and we are not going about discussing about the constant and all. See, there are variables. Variables may be x, y, z, maybe your variables. So there are three types of variables generally we use in our research. One is independent variables, so on which you have control. The dependent variable is your result on which you don't have any control. Then extraneous variables, so means there are certain kind of variables in spite of your independent variables on which you have a control. There are some extraneous variables on which you don't have any control. Suppose you want to do a research on, because I'm just giving a preliminary idea, then we'll go to the steps of research. Means if you want to do research, you should be very much careful about all these aspects from the very beginning. What should be your object? What should be your in general objective of a research, not relating to your topic, I'm telling repeatedly. And you have to take certain variables and all these things. And then what should be the variables? And then it will varies from depending on your, once you select your problems. But you should be very careful that yes, I have to take some independent variable, I should take some dependent variable, and apart from the independent variable, there are also certain variables which are called extraneous variable, has also certain impact on dependent variable. Suppose you see, you want to do research that sleep deprivation and its impact on the test performance of the students. Suppose in order to make a research on that, so you have to, suppose you selected 100 students, you went to a hostel, picked up 100 students from a hostel, and then what you did, you took them, all these 100 students, to another location. And there, what you can do, you want to look into the sleep deprivation, because generally you develop an intention that, or interest that the students usually they never sleep before the exam nights. So what they do, they engaged in either in teaching overnights or they engaged in chit-chatting over the nights. And usually you see what we found, even the students coming to the class, suppose 8 o'clock class, and I am sure that some of you might have got up right now and straight away opening up your mobile or laptop and sitting, because sir has given the 8 o'clock time, so you are straight away coming from the bed. And sometimes you might have told your mother, so mama मेरे को बुला लीजिए, मेरा class है 8 बजे. So means what exactly happening? The sounds, and while I usually take class always at 8 o'clock, and I always see the students, they always come after 5 minutes, and they have always complained that, sir, I was late. See, so that means you see, and also sometimes we see that students feeling sleepy in the class, they're not completely out of their sleep and all. So taking that as an curiosity, if you want to make a research on sleep deprivation and its impact on test performance, here suppose I took these 100 students from the hostel and then I kept them in a separate place, and from them what I did, I suppose ask the 50 peoples to completely stay throughout the night. I just allow them to sleep at 10 o'clock in the nights. They studied, then they slept well. Then the one other groups, 25 students, I told them you can read up to night 4 o'clock, then sleep for 1 hour, 2 hours. Then I'll wake up them around morning 5 o'clock. Then some group of peoples, they didn't sleep overnight, they completely awake, and that 25 people, and then they went to the examinations. But my hypothesis here is, I might have taken a hypothesis here that the people who slept well at night usually do best in the, they give best performance in the test. So here my dependent variable is test performance. My independent variable is sleep deprivation. So here I have a control that I allowed 50 people to sleep comfortably overnights. I allowed 25 people sleep halfway up to night. They were awake up to night 4 o'clock, then they slept 1 hour up to 5 o'clock. Then other 25 people, I never allowed them to sleep. They were throughout night, they are studying, or they are chit-chatting, whatever. So means here, in the next day morning at 5 o'clock, I started the exam and allowed them to write the exam. Then based on the performance, what I found, my hypothesis was that people who slept very well at the night can do the better results. But what I suppose I found that the no doubt the people who slept overnight did the well, but all of them didn't do well. Then I have to find out that what went wrong. That my assumption was the people who slept overnights can do the better performance. No doubt they did very well in comparison to the people who didn't sleep, but in reality what I found, my expectation that all will do well didn't happen, and otherwise my assumption of doing best didn't happen. So there the question of extraneous variable will come, because there are certain variable on which I don't have any control, because they are not independent variable, but they are certain variable which has control on, which has some impact on dependent variable. So means here what I can found in the exam hall, if it is too hot, the room temperature, if it is too hot, the students are not able to write, because generally in the summer, when we took the exam in the mid-summer, generally our end sem examination is for 3 hours, and sometimes what we found, there are some students who face lots of difficulties, even the invigilator too. So suppose students are writing examination, we have two sessions usually from 7 to 10, then 10:30 to 1:30. So here you see the after 10:30 in the midsummer, it is very tough. In the month of April, end of April, it is very tough to write examination. That too, the students who are in the top floor. The students who are in the top floor, suppose the exam starts at 10:30, by 12 o'clock it will be, the room temperature will go like anything, because most of the rooms are not having ACs. So what will happen? The students definitely, even if they are well prepared, they are well slept at night, they will be disturbed by the rise of temperature in the room. So they may be highly disturbed while, and they may fail in concentrating. They may fail in keeping the concentration in the minds while writing the examination. So that's why what exactly happened. Or sometimes what happens, suppose people are writing in a AC room in the examination, and all of a sudden I went and I reduced the temperature, then it is might be very cold. The students might be wearing the half t-shirts and all. They are not feeling warm, and they feel very kind of, suppose it is a winter season and outside temperature is very low. In spite of that, I reduce the temperature in the AC and it is very cold inside the room, then the students may be disturbed. And sometimes, so even if you well slept, you might be having certain kind of other uh, things in your brains which disturb you. You might be certain kind of, while you are coming to the examination, might be you have a certain incident you saw and becomes very emotion, so that might be disturbing in your brain. And sometimes while in the class also you found that you saw that your best friend is not able to write, and you might be becoming emotion that to help, you want to help her but you could not help her or help him, so you becomes also in the instantly you becomes also certain emotion that my friend is not able to write, so you are started thinking about something. Or while you are getting into the examination hall, all of a sudden you find a phone call that something missing happened at your home or with your friends and all, so that might be disturb you and made you more emotional. So those extraneous variables may have certain kind of impact on your performance. So means it is not necessarily that always independent variable has a kind of impact always on the test performance. Rather, there are certain other variables which are called extraneous variables have certain impact on the also on your performance. So then you see, so then you have to also be very clear from the very beginning that what type of research you are taking. Whether your research should be experimental research, which is mostly based on lab, or whether your research will be observational based research. We'll go in details all these things in the later course of time. Just for the sake of getting into the research, I'm just giving a brief idea. So means whether you are doing an observation research. Generally in our study, we do observation research. Like social science, we are generally some psychology people they do experimental research. Otherwise, mostly we do observation research. Either we observe the data, take the data and interpret the data using different kind of statistical methods and all. Then otherwise we can go to the field, observe the behavior of the humans, observe the activities of the human beings. Even if we want to do certain kind of research on the animals, how the animals are behaving, what are the animals are emotional in nature, whether they moves in a group or they moves in alone, all these things. If you want to do a small research on animals also, you can observe them, observe their behavior, so then only you can do the research. So then ex post facto research. You see here, suppose already there are certain kind of research is already held. You just want to make a research on that. Already something has happened. Suppose you want to make a research that on fat people. Suppose now you want to obesity and the impact of COVID-19. So you cannot wait to make some people to become fat or the people to gain the obesity, then you to do the research. No, already there are certain kind of people who are already fat. There are certain people who are having huge obesity. You can pick up those peoples and find out among those groups people who are, or you are doing the suppose research on diabetes patients and the COVID impact of COVID-19. You are not waiting to make somebody diabetes patient then do the research. Here already you have to find out certain kind of patients who are already having the diabetes and also affected by COVID-19. So and also you can pick out the people's response, the people's reaction, the people's kind of the behavior. You can take suppose the COVID-19 and the people and the people and the suppose diabetes patients. So you should not necessarily take here the people having diabetes and got affected by the COVID-19. Rather, you can pick the 50 peoples having diabetes and take the 50 peoples not having diabetes, and you can make a comparison that how the people having diabetes are reacting to the COVID-19, their preparedness, their behavior, and all these things, and the people not having diabetes, their preparedness, their reaction, their behavior towards the COVID-19. So there you will find that there are certain kind of differences because the people who having diabetes as they are more prone, more risk to the COVID-19, so they may take extraordinary steps. They may keep themselves inside the house. They may not get in much exposure to the public. They may not. There might be taking certain kind of ingredients to raise their immunity. But at the same time, you will find that the people are not having any kind of chronic diseases. Might be behaving in a different way. They might be getting more exposure to the public. They might be not obeying all the guidelines of the COVID-19. So you may find certain kind of differences. That is called ex post facto types of research. So that means you should be very clear from the very beginning that what exactly you are going to do, what type of research you are choosing. All these things should be very much things. So now let us come to the steps. Are you clear till now? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Anybody any doubt over this? Now I will go to the steps. Anybody any doubt? You please tell.
No,
All of you
sir.
understood? All of you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here you see. Then we are going to the steps of research. See, these are the things what I told. These are the very preliminary aspects which you should have in your mind before doing any research or before getting into the research, that what exactly you will do. The first step, these are the preliminary things you have to be in the brain before doing any research, because research you cannot simply jump into the research and do the research. You should have certain kind of ideas that what exactly you have to do, all these things you should have certain preliminary ideas. So now the real steps of research will start. See, what exactly you do in the research? Anybody any idea about the research? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Anybody any idea about the research?
Yes, sir.
Some of you might have written a small project report during your graduation.
Yes, sir.
So how you get into this? How you find out what exactly was your first steps to do the research?
Sir, my first step was to identify the problem, and then find out what were the exact problems with the people. So the research paper I worked on was that was reflexive interaction of media and people in rural India. So my first identification was what was the problem they were facing, and how then I identify how media was a tool in removing the barriers for them. So the very first thing that I needed to do is the identification of the problem, and then had an extensive literature survey over that, that if anyone had done any work with that, and if they had done, what was the results. And then, sir, I took my design that was descriptive in nature. Then there I collected some data and I did a qualitative research on that.
Okay. So anybody else wants to speak? Hello. Anybody any experience? So you are from media then. So the students from sociology and all, they must have written a project report.
Yes, sir, I'm from sociology background only. This was my paper while presenting in Delhi University once. And sir, during my final year project was on women, about the diverse and alimony, how it has impacted the life of men exactly. And I did a critical analysis on that. By taking the case study from Odisha State Commission of Women.
Okay.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
so okay. So so that means you see, in any kind of research, you should first start from reading huge materials. Means if you want to do a research, either the ideas of finding a problem is the first one. Formulation of research problem is the first steps of any research. So means what should be your research question, what should be your research problem, and what exactly you want to work. On what exactly you want to work is the first step. But how you will find that problems? Can you tell me how you will find out the problems? Suppose now, as you are after this semester, you will be asked to find out some of the. You have to give a choice for your supervisor. You have to choose one faculties from the departments. Then, based on your CGP and all, the supervisor will be allotted to you. And what you will do there, and how you will select the problems. Because see, you have to, after this first semester, in the second semester when we will ask you to choose your supervisor, so you have to give your option online. So then we will allot a supervisor. So then by the end of this semester, you will develop an interest of working on some aspects, some areas. Then you will go through our website and will see that so and so working on so and so area. You can select those professors. Right? So my question here is that how you find a research problem. It is not simply you will have to formulate a research problem, but my concern is that how you will formulate the research problem. From
So
where?
Sir, by asking certain questions like why it is happening, how it is happening, and what is the problem there. If it is happening smoothly, then is there any problem there, or is someone is getting affected? Like in the divorce and alimony case, even though women were being benefited in a large scale, but still there were certain lacuna that men were facing, and this was a problem that has been overlooked. So I tried to formulate that what was happening and why it is happening and how it is impacting. So by asking certain questions to ourselves, we can try to identify a problem, even if everything is like going on smoothly, such as like critically analyzing something. When there is a policy coming up, we do not just go through it, but rather we try to question ourselves that if this is right, if this is not, then how it should have been done. So by asking certain questions, we try to find out and analyze, come to a concrete problem, sir.
Okay, so means you are telling you have a certain kind of prior experience of the field, prior experience to the another research from which you got an idea or you formulated a problem. But what
Yes.
I am here asking, I am not getting into that right now. What I am telling, so this is the mechanism of finding a problem. So see, let others also to open their mouths, but because why only
Yes.
as this Swagata will tell. So everybody should speak now, because you see, I'm telling, unless and until you speak, you cannot progress. So let us open our mouth, and it should be more interactive, then only you can progress. Don't develop, because I always very critical to this, because generally what happens, and the major problem with all of us is that we always feel marginal. This is a very kind of attitude developing within us, that always try to be a leader rather than the simply followers. You always lead. You always tell that okay, nothing. So it might be wrong. See, I have already told you the teaching learning process continue till the end of our life, and we are all learning in the course of time. So it is not that. See, we are making a very informal discussion, because my class, I always believe that we should be very informal in our discussion. It should not be very kind of formal. So that's why I'm telling, so that you should open up your mouth and tell that what exactly where you can get a problem. Let others also tell. So you see, you are living in a very different locations. So in that locations, while you are staying in a different locations, so there you might be having a kind of exposure to different problems or to different area. So you might be having certain kind of experience from which you may formulate a problem. So let others also speak. Then I'll come down that how to find out a problem.
So,
Huh.
so I don't have any of the like experience in the official research like how to make. But according to me, if in future, like if I am choose to do a research, I will firstly start from like my own experience and my society around me, the problems my society facing, what I can visually see the people are facing. So I will start from there, sir. Like what society around me like facing the problem that which also have experienced that. So how can I find solution this that, and why is this happening to us, and what are the probable solutions to solve this?
Vaishnavi, you are from literature background, na?
No, sir. History and pol science.
Okay, history and politics. Okay, so you see what I'm telling here. See, that is one idea, that you get an idea from the kind of from your own location, own locality. That my locality people are facing so and so problem. I can do research and finding a solution to that. Okay, I'll come to everything. So then next, anybody wants to speak?
Sir, excuse me, sir. I think you need to have some prior knowledge or familiarity with a certain situation or something to know that if it's a problem or not.
Okay, so Mr. Singh is telling now that we have to be very careful whether it is a problem or not, that you have to look into. Then anybody else? Hmm. Huh. Ananya is speaking something.
Hello.
Tell. Huh.
I have to do first by asking people what their problem is, how they're facing problem. Uh, that's all, sir.
Okay. So Ananya is telling that I will ask the people what is their problem, then I will formulate my problem. Okay. Anyhow, you see, let us come back now. See, the formulation of research problem is not the only confining to that what exactly you realize from your own locality. It will not merely solve your problem of formulating a research problem from seeing some problem in your locality. Because you see, you have to be very careful that if you are choosing a problem for your research, whether it is strength to do a research, if you are taking this problem as a research, whether it can be contributed as a research for the small MA project, or for a small assignment, or for a MPhil dissertation, or for a PhD thesis, or for a project work kind of things. So that means here you say, no doubt, I'm not disagreeing your mechanism of finding a problems. See, the problem generally what happen, either we experience of seeing something, otherwise by seeing from the televisions or from a social media, but all these things are linked to the my intensive readings. See, I saw a problem, but unless and until I read the materials, I read the books, I read the lots of literature, so it will be quite difficult in formulating a research problem. Because my research problem, what I told you from the very beginning, my research problem should be very scientific in the nature. Means I should not select a research problem on which there are lots of studies being already held, lots of people are already being worked, lots of outcome is being in the market. Getting my point? So means I should always try to find out a research problem which is very unique in nature. There are very rare studies are found in this research. There are very less people have worked on these topics, and the real problem relating to this is still continuing in the society. So that's why I have to be very much careful while selecting a research problem. But unless and until I properly select a research problem, it is very difficult in my part to give a justice to my research. So that's why what I have to do, I have to formulate a research problem from the very beginning with taking certain kind of, no doubt, I saw the issues in the field, then I can look into the different writings, read the books, read lots of literature related to that. Then only I will find out that yes, something very unique things is happening, and there are very less people have done the work on this. So from which you can find out the research problem. And the second thing also, suppose if you are doing a kind of excellent research, or if you're doing some kind of research in any project or something, while you are doing even doing research on another topic, what exactly you found, so you might be finding that yes, this is the aspect which is less explored, and this is the things which can be better explored. So you see, suppose I'll tell you that, suppose I specifically worked on environmental sociology, and mostly in tribal development and environmental sociology I worked. Suppose you see, I was extensively doing the research on water, then forest and land management related to displacement issues and all, anything, even disaster and all. I take my special interest of working on Jal Jungle Jamin. All the issues relating to this Jal Jungle Jamin, I worked on disaster. I worked on drought, then lack of water, more water. Then I worked on water management, involvement of community in water management, involvement of community in forest management, environmental issues and its impact on the waste management and its impact on all. So what I'm telling here, or the industrialization and its impact on resources and displacement, and then I extensively working on those areas. What I found, because and works on NTF, non-timber forest products and tribal livelihoods. So how we can manage the forest products and providing an extensive livelihood to the communities. So what I'm telling here, by locating all this aspect into account, what I found that the people living in the forest areas are always deprived, and what I feel that there are different locations in our country where if we can which can attract the tourists to go, because you see, generally when the picnic season comes, we usually love to go to picnics nearby our areas. And what are the most location we prefer usually to go for picnics? Can anybody? What are the most location we prefer? What are the most location we prefer while going for a picnic?
Forest area.
Exactly. We look for a forest area, and we look for a area where there will be stream, because we need water to cook. Maybe we want, sometimes we want to take bath, we want to take photography, we want to enjoy, means so, and immediately we want to upload all these photos in the Facebook. Okay, so that is our intention. Now I am working on that to develop the two concepts. That is one on photo tourism, and another is on that quarantine tourism. There are two target of mine to develop now: the photo tourism, and another is quarantine tourism. So you see, because now the quarantine concept has come and become very popular after this COVID, and because of the COVID, the most affected industry is tourism industry. So anyhow, so what exactly I'm locating now? I'm focusing on the ecotourism. What I found that there are different resources in the forest regions. We have water, we have beautiful monuments, we have excellent forest coverages in our country, and we always love to go to those areas for our picnic. And this is a source which attracts the people of all the age groups and all the sex peoples, whether it is a male or female, whether it is a child, whether it is a old age people. All these peoples are being attracted by the nature. Suppose if I tell the Jagannath temple, how many students are having interest to visit the Puri Jagannath temple? Might be very less, because might be the people who are religious in nature, or might be the people who are mostly the oldest group, they have preferred to visit the Jagannath temple. But the best attraction there is the sea beach. If the Puri sea beach will be more attractive, then it can accommodate more tourists, because that is the major attraction of the people to go to the sea beach, which attracts lots of young groups. Even in the evening, the old group people also enjoy it by sitting beside the sea. So that means the sea beach is a more attractive place which can attract all the age group people and all the gender peoples, rather in comparison to the Puri Jagannath temple. So what I'm telling here, you see, what I found that the nature is the best things. If we promote the ecotourism, if we promote the nature-based tourism, then only we can give a better justice in giving the more revenue to the government, and we can give the alternative livelihood to the peoples. And because the people who are depending on the forest may go for destroying the forest in course of time, and if we will not take care of the forest, if we will not generate any sustainable revenue, sustainable livelihood for the local people from the forest, then the mafias can enter into the forest and they can destroy the forest, and the forest department may not have the people to manage the forest. So that's why I put an interest that there are different kind of stakeholders taking to the tourists, taking to the the local people, taking to the forest officials, and all these people into accounts. Then we can promote the tourism and do a certain kind of research on ecotourism. Through that, what will happen? Through that, what will happen? The tourism can be promoted and revenue can be generated. So that what we have to do. So based on that interest, I formulated a problem that a rigorous research is needed on ecotourism, which has been declared, on which more research has been not done. So anything you want to speak on this? Any doubt on this now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So then what you can, so that means, see, so either from your experience, but mere experience will not solve in finding a problem for a research. You have to go for an extensive read, extensive study. Suppose I find out this problem working extensively on forest regions. So I found that this is a very good area which is not much explored, and if it is explored, means then it can give a better livelihood to the local people. It can conserve the environment, it can conserve the animals, it can conserve the entire local biodiversity, and it can provide a sustainable income. Because suppose in a picnic we are going and coming back, what the local people are getting might be a seasonal income, while for 1-2 months we go and they simply open a small stall kind of things. And you see, while we are going picnic, we usually tax everything and go there. We may not depend upon the local market to buy anything, sometimes except cold drinks and all. Mostly we take everything and we just eat there and come back. Rather, what we did, we destroy the local environment, spoil the local environment, create the more pollution, throwing our plates, throwing our plastic kind of glass and here and there, and destroying the local streams and all. So that's why that if ecotourism is promoted, which can give an environmental education to the tourists with lots of restriction, and we can develop a certain kind of accommodation facilities that is called eco forest kind of eco cottages in those regions. And if you look at the Kerala, we have 3 students here from Kerala. Kerala is the top in India promoting ecotourism, and so that's why what I'm telling. So and then what I did, I come back and studied lots of literature on that and find out, yes, this is an area which is not being explored, and then I cannot do overnight all the research on ecotourism. Then I have to be exclusively find out a single problem on which I have to do the research. So I'll stop here. Then we can discuss tomorrow morning on the other step of research. The first step is formulating the research problem. And now, are you clear that how to get a research problem, how to formulate a research problem? Either involving yourself in the different topics, different area of research, on while you have a first-hand experience, but all these aspects should be strengthened once you read more and more literature find out the problems from the different literature, find out that what exactly the people have done, what are the aspect is being ignored, on what you can more explore. Yes, somebody was asking. Tell. Hello. Somebody is asking.
No, sir.
Okay. So then we'll meet tomorrow morning 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.